Hi, today we're going to look at the enveloping schema. Now, the enveloping schema is an interesting schema because it's a schema where certainly my sister had an incident where her little boy, when he was age 3, had hidden her £5 notes. So she needed to find a couple of £5 notes. Luckily, he hadn't got taken everything out of the purse. But anyway, she asked him if he'd seen any money, and he didn't understand really. So she showed him some notes out of her purse and said, "Have you seen these?" And he took her, thankfully, to the garden next to the tree in the garden. And he dug a hole there and he buried her £5 notes. So she was able to get them back. So they might bury valuables or different things, and you can do these games with them in school where you do the archaeology kind of thing where you have things buried in sand and they have to find them. So that's helping with the enveloping schema and helping them to understand it because it is a security thing, really. So, for instance, they might like wrapping themselves up in a blanket, and I've certainly got a picture of a relative that will be on here later showing you that. And they might want to wrap up dolls and toys and things like that, or cover them over, put them to bed and cover them over. And they might get some feel nurtured and feel secure if you have a weighted blanket. And some of the children that I've worked with, when they are getting themselves into a meltdown and they're very stressed about whatever, and they can't really express themselves, they will like somebody to hold them, So you can teach them, obviously, how to hold themselves, and a weighted blanket will help with that because you can give them a weighted blanket to wrap around themselves. So for some children who are neurodivergent, that works as a way that they can learn to calm themselves down. So that's part of the enveloping schema, that process that some people stay in for a very long time because it comforts them, and it's their form of self-regulation, and we all need to regulate ourselves. So for some people, it might be going for a mile run in the morning before they get down to what's happening in the day. For other people, it's different things. And certainly for some people, at certain parts of the day, it might be that they need some self-regulation and can wrap themselves in their weighted blanket to feel secure. And when they're just feeling perhaps a bit panicky. So it's a very useful schema. So what else can we think about? Pass the parcel is a prime one of enveloping, and where they open the parcel, or they might have wrapped up some parcels this time of year for Christmas. So it's something they might enjoy doing. So if they enjoy the enveloping scheme, there's nothing stopping you asking them to help you wrap the Christmas presents, particularly if you know that that's an area that they enjoy, and why not? Another time it might be during Halloween when you play mummies and they have to wrap toilet roll around people, and they might quite enjoy that. They might wrap their toys up in blankets. I know I seem as though I'm moving about a bit. That's because I've got 2 dogs who've joined us again today. And they're sitting here and they want me to stroke them all the time. So it's a bit strange that my arms seem to be doing something all the time. It's actually stroking the dogs. So excuse me for that. And of course, another thing they like doing, which is part of the enveloping schema, and that is making dens. And again, another picture of that will be shown later on. And another thing is, or certainly a hobby that older people tend to have nowadays, not children, is tunnelling. So tunnelling is a hobby. Years ago in the Bronze Age, here in the Great Orme, which is, I can't show you now, it's dark, but it's just over there. So the Great Orme has got copper mines, and during the Bronze Age, it was a very, very successful mine. It's massive, actually. If you go to the Orme, the Great Orme mine is well worth exploring. And again, there'll be a photo of that later on for you to see. But at the time, during the Bronze Age, when it was a working mine, children were used to tunnel because, to tunnel for copper that they were looking for, because obviously some of the places needed a smaller person to get through. And so they would use their hands, fingers, and so on. They would use some bones and some bits of stone that they'd had to help with it. Whereas nowadays, of course, we don't need to do that because we've got these massive machines that will bore tunnels and so on. Animals that still use still do tunneling. Well, obviously worms and moles. So obviously they've developed different senses to help them with that as they've evolved. So I think that is all that we're going to talk about today. The enveloping schema, isn't it, girls? The enveloping schema. So